If you've come this far, you might as well smash that subscribe button so that you can receive updates and access to my almost 100 other videos. In fact, this is going to be my 95th video, and I'm very excited to share with you tonight a video of a banknote from Mozambique. Mozambique is a former Portuguese colony that after some time was quite excited to gain its independence, so much so that eventually, when they got rid of the colonial banknotes, they had a funeral where they buried the old currency and started this new currency, which is pronounced Meticais, which is how some friends of mine who visited Mozambique came back saying it. So if it's incorrect, it's just the Oklahoman pronunciation of a beautiful word that I don't know how to say. But the note I have to share with you tonight is a 500 Meticais. And although it's recently dated, you see it there, 16th of June in 1983. It was demonetized on December 31st, 2012. Let's go over a little bit about the history of this note. This is predominantly a blue banknote. It measures 140 by 68 millimeters. The standard catalog of world paper money calls this note PIC 131, while the banknote book calls this B216. I also used Wikipedia as well as pjsims.com.au. His fantastic website has lots of interesting articles, and I was able to get some information on what's depicted in the vignettes on this note. On the front of the note, which we're looking at, I'll go into detail in just a minute. There's very little security in this note. There is one solid line security thread. There doesn't seem to be any watermarks. There are some light underprinting engraving on the background of the note, but you have to really be looking for it to find it. The main security features on the note seem to be the galoshes that you see in the corners. In the corners here. And then the lathe work that you see surrounding the denominations and the edges of the vignettes. It's a lovely note nevertheless. And on the face of the note, we see the national arms here in the center, which if you look closely, consist of a crossed hoe and Kalashnikov. Although, for some reason, I was writing down that it was a pickaxe. I guess I just wasn't believing that it was actually a gun. And maybe it's not a Kalashnikov, but it does seem to be a bayonet of some sort. But the vignette on the left-hand side shows the permanent commission up here sitting behind President Michal, who's speaking at a podium. He is addressing the People's Assembly. And the vignette on the right-hand side seems to show a group of people waving, and it's been suggested that they are waving their voter ID cards. The theme of the face of this note is that of the establishment and operation of the People's Assembly. And that makes sense since each of these banknotes has a theme that relates to the founding of the nation. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at the back of this note. And while I'm doing that, if you haven't decided to subscribe, go ahead and do so. This is a great channel. I vouch for myself. On the back side of this note, we have the logo of the central bank right over here. And then it's the bank logo that has a pickaxe and a hoe. Okay, not the national arms. But we have a vignette of scientists in a laboratory setting doing experiments. And then over here on the right, we have a vignette of some kind of school, maybe even a bush school, where we see a teacher with adult students, and they're using a wooden lap desk, which actually in my mind looks pretty comfortable. And in my school, we have some teachers that practice alternative seating. I may need to show them this banknote because that doesn't look like a hard desk to manufacture. And it seems to be working for them, although sitting down on the floor for too long of time makes the back of my front fall asleep. Let's just put it that way. The theme for the back of this note is the struggle for development through literacy and scientific and technological work. I think it fulfills the task admirably in both of those themes here. Now let's turn it back to the front while you make that final decision to subscribe to my channel. You don't see a huge portrait of President Michal on this note, but you do see him on this note. He's right there. And it's very unfortunate. In just a few years after the issuance of this note, he died in a plane crash in 1986 near the border shared with South Africa. And it's unfortunate. But interestingly enough, sometime later, his widow ended up marrying Nelson Mandela. And so we have an interesting situation with the lady who was the first lady of two different nations. That's interesting food for thought. Mozambique is in the press, unfortunately, this week because of some unfortunate efforts by Islamic terrorists to establish a caliphate in the northern part of Mozambique. And they've taken to enslaving entire villages, kidnapping the women and the children and the girls and turning them into slaves while beheading the boys and the men of the village. They're a nation that weighs heavy in my thought. I hate terrorism of any kind, and I do wish them success in repulsing these repulsive people. Collectors of the themes of government assembly scenes, farm tools, crowd scenes, scientists, classroom scenes, teachers, and students will probably want to add this note to their collection. Oh, how could I have forgotten? Almost forgettable is the fact that they have a serial number in red right down here. I would like for you to visit, subscribe, and share my YouTube channel, Numismatic Notes with Benjamin. Subscribe, share, and ask me any kind of questions. Make suggestions about videos you'd like to see in the future. I am Benjamin. I hope you have a jewel of a day.